Hello, everyone, and welcome to Season 3 of the Courage to Identify podcast with me, your host, Sharon Angel. Today, we're going to talk about this question that many young girls, many South Asian young girls are asked. That is, when are you getting married? Well, wouldn't it be great if we all knew the answer to that? But unfortunately, we don't. But today we're going to dive into this topic because, one, this question, when it was asked to kind of bring solidarity between women or as a topic of conversation between women. But today, when this question is asked, it adds a lot of pressure to either the girl, the young boy, or even to the families, the close circle around the young girl or the young boy. Now, back in the day, there was a time when girls got married at a very young age. Right after they started menstruating, they would marry them off because back in the day, men were also older. Only older men married younger women. And this meant that when the girl is married, childbirth will be much easier. There wasn't a lot of advancements that we have today for childbirth or other options to give birth to children via science or surrogacy and so on. So back in the day, young girls birthed 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids. And after marriage, it was up to these young girls to take care of the children. And in essence, it became this girl's life to take care of her spouse, take care of the children, make sure the emotional needs of the in-laws and her parents and her closest family were met. There was a lot of responsibility placed on this young girl. And if you look at society back in 100 years ago or even 300 years ago, this girl, when she was in her parents' house, she would be taught and trained to take care of the domestic work of the house. So obviously to cook, clean, manage the household, because young girls back in the day were not sent to school. Financial education, economic freedom, or just having an opinion on matters was not a thing because women were not sent to school, and primarily women were seen as agents to take care of the family and to nurture and to have kids so that the family will become big or the family will increase because of the woman. So obviously, the young girl did not have an identity outside of her spouse or her in-laws or her parents because her responsibilities as a woman was different than what it is now. But today, if you look at even law, the marriageable age for a woman it became 18 and now it is up to 21. And it is understandable because older men don't marry younger girls, younger women anymore. The marriageable age, even for a man, has changed. And so many other things around that for a woman, for the girl's family has changed. And also, if you look at society today, many women are getting married in their early 20s, either right out of college or after they get their first job. Our society demands, or our society says that once she has a degree or once she has a job, she is ready to get married. So when this question of when are you getting married is asked, it puts a pressure on the women because women are not the same from what they were 100 years ago or 200 years ago or centuries ago. The demands that have been placed on them have changed. Who a woman is today has changed from all those years ago. Now, is this because of feminism? Is it because women have asked for their rights, asked to be in places of power, asked to work in the society, asked to be part of society? Or on the other side, is it because patriarchy has been enforcing these rules and commandments of who a woman should be from back in the day? And even if patriarchy is having a set rule for how a woman should be, if you look at our society today, or if you even take women from 50 years ago, it is a matriarchy that is actually enforcing these rules or enforcing who a woman should be and what her life should be like. And in most cases, if you see, it is the aunties or it is the older women asking the younger women or the younger men, when are you getting married? So when demands for these younger women have changed as to you cannot stop with just getting a high school education for 8th grade or 10th grade. You have to get a college degree. You have to get a master's degree. You have to have a job. You have to provide an income to the household. And even today, it is coming to a time where both men and women have to bring second incomes and third incomes in order to support a healthy lifestyle, in order to support some of the basic needs that we have as a society, we have as humans. So yeah, we can say that women have changed from over the years because of feminism. We can say that women have changed because they have a dream, they have the courage, they can do what they want to do. Or we can also say that it is because of technology that has evolved, it is because of economic needs that we have, or because of culture, religion, so on and so forth. There may be many reasons why women have changed and evolved. But the core idea is women have changed. The demands placed on women have changed. Who a young girl is, the definition of who a young girl is, or what she should bring to life, to herself, to her family, to society, to her job, all of that has changed. And when that has changed, and we know that it has changed, then why is this question of when are you getting married still being asked? Why is this question asked when the young girls don't meet the timeline of these aunties or uncles or the people who are asking these questions? When this question is asked and this pressure is placed on these young women, how do they navigate it? What to do about it? Can women still be the same as they were back in the day? Yes, but that is a luxury that only certain women, a certain class of women have. Those who have husbands or a family who are able to earn well and provide wealth and provide for the material needs, the emotional needs of the woman. But mostly in society, in South Asian society, in America or India or wherever in the world, women have this demand to participate in career, in their jobs, to meet the emotional needs of the family members, and to also take care of herself. So today, we're going to take a deep dive into how to navigate the decision of marriage when it is getting delayed in order to find someone to commit to for the rest of your life. So today, I don't have a guest for you, so it's just going to be me and you talking. And first, I want to address this pressure that culture places on young women to be married at a certain age or to be married in a certain way. And when I talk about cultural pressures, I can't go further without talking about the pressures of dowry. So to really understand dowry, this was a gift that fathers from back in the day passed on to their daughters in the name of inheritance. So inheritance from wealthy fathers who managed estates or had like so many properties, they would be passed on to their sons and to their daughters. And because back in the day, women were not educated, they did not go to school or they did not have a proper education when it came to the kind of education that we are receiving today, it was not the same. So she did not have opinions on many things. She did not have a voice on many things. But for herself to sustain or for her to take care of herself in cases of emergencies or even in her everyday life, the gift that was passed on by her father, by her parents to herself was the dowry. But this gift was passed on to the girl at the time of marriage so that she can take care of herself during emergencies or even for her daily expenses. This was the common idea back in the day. This gift of dowry was given to the husband or to the groom's family so that they can manage the wealth, they can take care of the finances for her. And this was the idea for dowry. And it was widely observed that girls or women cannot take care of the finances and cannot take care of wealth because they were not taught it or they were just not allowed to manage wealth and finances. And so when it came to the hands of the husband or the groom's family, that's how maybe this dowry was used or unused or just kept by the girl herself. But how has this translated to today? Dowry has become a demand. There are some in-laws who know that a certain father or a certain girl from a lower economic background cannot pay so much, cannot give so much. So they will demand some gold, some material things to accumulate that wealth or to keep that wealth for themselves, because they think, oh, it is something that is coming of a free status. And they were also able to acquire the girl as well. So it has been manipulated and it has been started to use in a negative way. And that's why dowry itself has a negative connotation. It has become so bad that many fathers of girl children have to put themselves in debt in order to pay this dowry, in order to pay this demand. And that's when the girl child becomes a burden. That's when she becomes a liability, because when this dowry is demanded before the wedding, of course, the fathers have to say yes, because if not, that becomes a pride issue. That becomes a shame issue and a shameful identity to them if they're not able to pay this dowry. So they put themselves in debt all their life in order to pay the girl's in-laws, the groom's family. And when they are not able to, that's when this girl is beaten up, abused, mistreated in many ways. And that's where the tension comes. So this has gone far in a way that the weddings between the groom and the bride, the girl and the boy, becomes a huge celebration, almost just to show off the wealth that is received and given. And as much as we want this to be broken, it is still not broken in the South Asian communities, whether it is in Asia or it is in the West. This demand of dowry still creates a lot of pressure for the girl, but primarily for the girl's father. Now, on the other hand, I do have to mention that there are families that don't demand a dowry, don't expect a dowry, and say, all we want is your daughter, so whatever you want to do for her, please do it for her and send her to us. We're more than happy to just have your daughter into our family. That is a wonderful look into how two people should be married or can be married in a very happy and cordial way. But when this pressure of the wedding day itself comes, there are so many negative connotations and so many pressures that we as a community have not addressed yet. Culture itself has changed, and the demands placed on young women have changed. Now, this dowry instance that I mentioned might be direct, but there are many indirect ways in which girls are pressured, but mostly the father of the bride is pressured into being married. So ask yourself, when you ask this question of, oh, when are you getting married? Are you really considering the situation of the father of the bride, especially when they are related to you, especially when you know that they are in a tough economic situation, tough financial situation? Is it necessary to ask this question and put this burden of, oh, it is time for you to get your daughter married on the father of the bride? Number two, I want to talk about the pressure that religion places on us. Now, religion is a force for good. It is good commandments. It is a set of scripture that we follow, that we base our lives on so that we will advance, we will have a good value in our life. But the way it is enforced might burden or bring people to polar opposites. It can bring people to stand on polar sides and cause shame, guilt, pride, and even war against each other. Now, to break down this thought a little more, I have experienced firsthand, or I have heard firsthand from women who are friends in my circle, that they are being manipulated and they are being told certain things that leave a bitter taste. Now, it is very important for religious leaders to be careful in the way they enact or enforce certain scriptures or the way toward a good life. Because if it is not done in the right way, then it affects the common man. It affects the average person. Number one, what I see is manipulation. And I'm going to talk about a woman's perspective because that is all I know. I do not know about the man's perspective. So full disclaimer, this is not against men. This is something that I want to talk about only because this is what I know. Now, when I talk about manipulation, I have seen firsthand and heard religious leaders tell young single women, come do this for me, or come do this because God wants you to do this. And they use scripture, they use the name of God, and they use it in very manipulative ways. Whether they know it or not, I don't know their intention, but used in a way to say that if you do all these things, if you do all these works, then you will be able to find the perfect man, the perfect guy that God has for you. I don't know how true it is, but intention matters there. If scripture and the name of God is used in the wrong way, then that leaves a bitter taste for this young woman, and her perspective of God will change. It will leave a sour taste in her mouth. So she will start hating the leader. She will start hating religion itself, and she could possibly also start hating God. So the question I want to ask is this what we want for the young single girls out there? To see God in a bad light? And number two, the point that I want to make continuing to this is I have heard religious leaders say, if you are older and if you are unmarried, then it is a curse that is placed on you. Then it is a demon that I need to cast out. And they do all these rituals, all of these ceremonies to cast the singleness out of this woman. I don't know how true it is. Is singleness really a demon that needs to be casted out? Or is it just a social construct that needs time, that needs change, and that needs perspective? And following this, point number three, vicious lines are said to young women saying that loneliness is not for you. You are not meant to be sad like this. You are not meant to be neglected like this, when the religious leaders or the scriptural context is what's making them lonely. The way this scripture and the way these theories are enforced are what's making them lonely. And as much as unhealthy practices there are, yes, we can say that these people don't know what they are talking about. These people come from a very small perspective. Yes, we can give them the allowance to just write them off or wash off the things that they said. In reality, it is hurting young girls. And we have to ask ourselves, is it necessary to hurt and isolate young girls just because they are in a different path or a different journey in life? On the other side, I also want to applaud certain communities, certain churches, certain missionaries who are having healthy counseling, who are having sessions specifically for young women and men to know what they want, to know what their likes and dislikes are in the other gender, in the person that they hope to marry, and the person that they hope to commit with for the rest of their life. What does this commitment mean? What are their priorities in life? What can they bring to the table? What should they bring to the table? All of these things are addressed by certain religious communities, by certain religious groups, in a very healthy perspective that really helps the young woman or the young man to have a positive outlook on marriage and have a positive outlook on the long-term sense of a commitment. If you think about it, many kids of religious leaders or many kids of spiritual leaders might be in this sheltered and overprotected background. And this can be applied even to those who are not from the religious background, but are just overprotected and sheltered in the name of culture, in the name of this is how we raise our children. That they only know the perspective of their own parents. They only know the perspective of a small group of people who have sheltered them, who have taught them these are the rules that you must live by. You should not think twice. You should not look outside. You should not, the list goes on. So when these kids come to a certain age and their mind becomes curious, their thoughts start evolving, their thoughts and opinions start taking shape, then there is a clash inside themselves to ask, well, I was taught all of these things. I was told all of these things and I have followed them. But still, there are these questions inside me to ask, is this real? Is this something that I should pursue? Is this the kind of life that I can live? Is this the kind of person that I can meet? Then asking those questions will have some tension, because I've always been taught you cannot have your own identity, you cannot have your own opinion, and what I say is the only real life. What happens when through religion, through belief, through faith, there is exploration of what is outside of what has been already taught? Can that be encouraged in a healthy way so that this pressure to be married at a certain time, at a certain age, can be alleviated and really hone down to what does the person want in a relationship and what the person can give in a relationship? Any religion, any belief system will tell you that 2 is better than 1. So why not encourage that in a healthy way? When religious leaders ask the question, when are you getting married? Is it coming from a healthy place, or is it coming from a manipulative place? And when that question is asked, what are you really asking that person? Is it coming from a healthy place? And does that question really help her make a decision to a long-term commitment? Number 3, I want to talk about the pressure that parents face, or the pressure that parents place on their children, on the young girls. Now, when this question of when are you getting married is asked by other aunties, uncles, becomes almost a burden to the parents themselves. As much as all parents have good intentions toward their children, this burden of when are you getting married, or just the fear of this question, when are you getting married, turns into some kind of worry that they have to take on themselves. Now, disclaimer, I'm not a parent. I don't know what it feels like to be a parent. I'm sure it's a huge deal for them. It's a huge worry for them. But just hear me out on this perspective. Many South Asian parents have this mentality of what will others say? What will others think? So when this question of when are you getting married is asked to the young girl or to the girl's parents, they take this as the mission for their life. I do not want to be asked this question again, when is your daughter getting married? So they will do their best to find anyone and everyone. Now, to be clear, their intentions are in the right place in my understanding. But when it translates to the girl, when it translates to the daughter, it might not translate well, because it will seem like any man and any guy is pushed on the girl just because she is at the age of marriage. She is at the marriageable age. Now, I don't have to give any context. I don't have to give any stories to back this claim up, because it is happening right now. I am hearing my friends tell me this, young girls on social media write to me about this. I'm hearing my cousins talk about this. So this is something that is definitely happening in our society right now. Is it okay to marry just anyone just because they are available? And as the girl exercises her freedom of choice, her freedom of opinion, her freedom of decision making to say, no, I don't want this person. No, I'm looking for this kind of person. No, I want this character in this person. No, I want, this certain kind of job in a person. Then the parents are pressured more, feel pressured more, and worry more to say, she's saying no to everybody, to a point that parents start to force, impose, and even hurt the daughter in the process. So then there is a clash between the daughter and the parents, and this becomes their entire mission to get the girl married just because someone came in and asked, when are you getting married, or when are you getting your daughter married? And parents are not equipped for this, because in their mind, they are ready to give their girl away. They're ready to give their daughter away. And when they are not able to lock down one person, so as to say, then the parents start to impose, start to force, and even hurt the girl to say, you are the problem. This goes so far enough that the conversation in the house, all that happens between the parents and the daughter is about marriage. Who do you want? Why are you saying no? Are you the problem? Can you openly think about this? When this is the only conversation between the parents and the child, then it hurts the girl. It hurts the daughter. Then she starts to ask the question, is this all I'm made for? Is this all I'm capable of? She starts to doubt herself. There are issues of self-worth that starts creeping in. There are questions of her value that begin to coming into herself. So my question is it necessary to force, impose, and question a girl child when she is just developing her idea of what she wants in a marriage or what she wants in a person, the person that she's going to marry for the rest of her life? On the other side, I also see women who are ready to get married, young girls who are ready to get married, but the parents are the ones who are taking it slow and really thinking about the process of finding the right person or finding the person that the girl has to spend the rest of her life with. Now, I really have to applaud this or even be happy about this progress, be happy about this change. Because in many ways, when parents support the daughter in the decision-making, they are, one, allowing the girl to understand that this is not a decision that you make very quickly. But at the end of the day, when the wedding is done, when all the ceremonies and events and even the family, the conversation is done, at the end of the day, it is just two people together. So number one, it is just two people in this commitment. Number two, divorces are prevalent today, regardless of a religious background or a non-religious background. The divorce rate is at 50%. So divorce is a possibility depending on what the situation is, regardless of what background, regardless of what culture, regardless of what language, regardless of what religion people practice. Divorce is something that is a part of our generation, is a part of our society. And they know that divorce is hard. So they are ready to be slow on this decision. Number three, they know the difficulties that one has to face, especially a woman has to face when she has to pick up her entire life and move into a different family. So the customs of that new family, the in-laws family, might be different. She might have to change and adapt to certain things. Some girls have to move to a different state. They have to move to a different country. They have to move and pick up their lifestyle, change their entire life when they get married. Some parents do understand this and they are ready to make this decision a slow one. Number four, there are some parents who understand that this generation is different. With technology, with globalization, with economic overturns, things are very different from what it was even 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So when parents understand that and support their children in making this decision, it is much easier on the girl child. It is much easier on the boy child as well. This is the first decision that a child who is becoming an adult is making. And this decision is for the rest of their life. When parents understand this and are able to have a conversation or able to list out what do you want, or even sit down and listen to the things that the girl wants, the boy wants, and be able to share their opinion, share their thoughts, and together make this decision of who they are going to marry, it becomes so much more easier. It becomes so much more freer to navigate and to be able to make this decision, because this is one that is for the longer term. There is a generational gap between many families. And at some point, we have to recognize that and be able to deal with that. When this generation gap is fixed, then this first decision, this first big decision, lifelong decision of getting married will become so much easier. Now, the last pressure that I want to talk about is herself, the girl herself. That could be you. Now, with all the things that I mentioned, whether it is global change, economic change, the demands to bring a second income, the demands to be a certain kind of girl, have a certain kind of lifestyle post-marriage. There are many young girls who are going through introspect and retrospect to be able to really find out what their likes are, what their dislikes are, what they want to be, who they want to be, and what they want in a relationship, what they want in a commitment. The pandemic has definitely contributed to this thought, or this kind of like triggered this thought of who do you want to be? It has triggered it in many young girls. It has triggered it in many young men. And those who use the lockdowns, those who use the pandemic in a productive way by journaling, writing, really asking themselves and encouraging these questions of curiosity. Who am I? What am I going to do with my life? Where do I want to be in my career, in marriage, when I have kids, with my in-laws? Asking all these questions and really constructing, deconstructing, reconstructing their beliefs. These women are definitely on a different journey. And this journey is not similar to many from the previous generation, because now is when knowledge is prevalent. There are many who are really encouraging this journey to ask questions and really go on this journey to find the answers to these questions. And it is something definitely to be encouraged. And when young girls go on this journey to really find themselves and find the answers for these questions, it is so different from how girls were or how women were 50 years ago to 300 years ago. Because one, they were not encouraged to ask these questions. And two, they did not have an opinion and were not encouraged to have an opinion. And three, also economically, financially, on the accounting side of things, they were not encouraged to participate. But now has come a time when society and culture and religion and all these areas of life demand a woman to participate in society. And so her asking these questions, her going on this journey is important. Those who support the women on this journey will help her. And those who don't support her on this journey, she is still going to go on this journey just without you. Women do need to be healed of many things as well. Things that were generationally causing trauma, causing pain, causing insecurity, causing feelings of self-worth. These things need healing. These emotions need healing. And maybe there is a generational gap that needs to be filled by certain women. And women of this generation are definitely taking on that gap with stride and working so hard to fill it so that their generation and the next generation does not have to go through the same pain, the same fear, the same shame that they had to go through or they have to go through. It is remarkable the things that women of our generation are facing and the things that they are getting into. So how can we support them? And when we ask this question of when are you getting married, is it really in support of their healing journey? Is it really in support of themselves finding who they are? One last thing to consider when we talk about these pressures are when we kind of force or enforce women to get married at a certain age, we also need to ask the question, are the boys or the men who are counterparts to who she will be ready for marriage? Are they ready to provide? Because back in the day, younger women or young girls married older men. And today we have come to the conclusion as a society that women have to marry or women want to marry other boys or other men in their own age. So when this is the case, and when we enforce certain social pressures that the girl has to be educated in a certain way, that she has to look a certain way, that she has to have a certain job, are the men who are her supposed counterparts also in the same situation or in the same condition? If the men are not ready, do we give them space and do we allow them to get ready to want this commitment and to participate in this commitment? Just in the same way that we ask the young girls and the women if they're ready for this commitment and want this commitment for them, are we putting the same pressures or the same questions on men as well? If not, why not? So in conclusion, it's a great question to ask. When are you getting married? But when asking that question, there are so many pressures that are added to it. Is it intentional to ask this question to force someone or to push someone into the decision of marriage? Or Are you asking that just to have a conversation without knowing the harm that it will cause? Or are you asking that just to have fun, participate in that one-day wedding event, eat juicy biryani, have a conversation with everybody and walk away, when two people are the ones who are making that commitment and staying with that for the rest of their life? So the next time you ask that question, ask yourself, is the girl who you are asking the question to ready to take on life? Is she ready to take on the life after marriage? Is she ready to take on that commitment? Is she equipped to be able to meet the demands that life brings her? Is she equipped to meet the demands that her in-laws place on her, her extended family places on her? Is she ready to meet the demands that religion places on her? Is she ready to meet the demands that culture, her career, and all the other aspects of technology places on her? Yes, we are in a different time, but I don't think marriage is an impulse decision. It is the first decision that we will make that is hopefully the same for the rest of our lives. And as you grow up, someone else might be making decisions for you. But this decision of marriage is something that should be your choice. That is something that you must make for yourself. Because if it's good, it will be great for the rest of your life. And if it's not something that is coming from your heart, that is coming from your mind and from your full self, then like dominoes, everything will fall apart one by one. So as you grow into an adult and as you start making decisions for yourself, this would be one of the main decisions that you will be making. And so you need to be informed, you need to be ready, you need to get your mind ready, your heart ready, your entire being ready to be able to prepare for this long-term decision. So choose wisely. Either way, this is a choice that needs to be made by you. And if you need the time to prepare, to think about, to really process, or even take time to heal, go on your journey and come back, that is okay. Our times have changed. So give yourself that grace and give yourself that freedom. For when you make this choice, you are in 100% and you are able to give 100% into this relationship. Thank you for tuning into the Courage to Identify podcast with me, your host, Sharon Angel. As always, please follow me on social media and visit my website, sharonangel.com. I hope this episode was useful to you and definitely made you think. Please feel free to share with your friends and family and maybe even start having a conversation on this topic. It was a pleasure making this episode for you. And with the Courage to Identify podcast, I will talk to you soon.